Bright day, everyone. Today we are diving into Lesson 2, the global population and mobility. In an increasingly interconnected world, understanding how people are distributed and why they move across borders is essential. We will specifically focus on two major pillars, the global demography and the global migration. So let's get started. Before we get into the details, let's look at what we aim to achieve by the end of this session. Our objectives are to explain the theory of demographic transition and how it impacts the world's population. Next is to share first-hand knowledge of the OFW experience, which is very close to home for many Filipinos. And finally, to analyze the political, economic, cultural, and social factors that drive global migration. Speaking of migration, take a look at our Did You Know section. Over 10 million Filipinos work abroad as OFWs. This staggering number makes the Philippines one of the largest sources of migrant workers in the entire world, highlighting just how mobile our population truly is.
Good day everyone, I'm Kimberly Fernando and I'm going to discuss about the K concept in global demography. Demography, the scientific study of human population, trends including size, structure, and distribution. So it is the study of how many people are in place, how old they are, where they live, and how these numbers change. Second, demographic transition. The shift from high birth and death rates to low birth and death rates societies develop. So as the countries develop, they go from having lots of births and deaths to fewer births and deaths. Migration, the movement of people across political or administrative boundaries. So people moving from one country or area to another to live. So last is migrant, any person who moves away from their habitual place or residence, someone who moves to a new place to live, often in different country or region.
Hi everyone, I am a nurse in TIG and today I'm gonna discuss the Malthusian theory. The Malthusian theory. Thomas Malthus from 1766 to 1834 argued that populations grows geometrically while food supply grows only arithmetically. He predicted famine, disease, and war as natural checks on population growth. So si Thomas Malthus, isa ni siya ka English economist, scholar, and a cleric, meaning as ano sab siya pare. In the world of economics and sociology, isa ni siya sa basically the OG of population studies. So Malthus formulated an essay titled Essay on the Principle of Population. Gipublish ni siya 1789, wherein he postulated that population tended to grow geometrically while the means of subsistence grow only arithmetically. So may quote ni siya nga, the power of population is indefinitely greater than the power in the earth to produce subsistence for man. Basically, ang quote ni Malthus, gamini siya nga, daghan na daw kayo ang tao pero ang food supply is limited ra. So next slide, may nato diri Malthus versus reality. So na diri Malthus predictions. Amo to yung prediction kay na. Thomas Malthus predicted that population would outgrow food supply, leading to famine, like kakulangan na sa mga pagkaon, widespread lack of food, disease, magkasakit na mga tao, and war as natural checks on human numbers. So, si Thomas Malthus, para niya, humans multiply geometrically. Like, for example, abe, ang nanganak kag duha, tapos ang kanang duha ka anak nimo manganak sab siya. Like, ga-multiply lang ang mga tawo. While our food supply only grows arithmetically. For example, abi, ga-plant kag isa ka mango tree sa isa ka tuig. Imong harvest increases at a steady, predictable pace. Wala siya ga-double, gaad lang gid siya nga gaad. In simple terms, he thought humans would have babies way faster that we could grow food. Warning niya, kung di daw nato ni makontrol atong population, nature will do it for us through natural checks mao to ang famine, widespread of lack of food, disease, and war. Magwar na kay gailoganay na ang mga tao sa mga nabilin nga mga resources. And he really believed nga we were trapped in this cycle of poverty. But what actually happened? The Industrial Revolution disproved these dire predictions through technological advances and agricultural improvements. So Malthus was totally proven wrong because of Industrial Revolution. Wala niya na-predict na technology would change the game. He couldn't imagine na we'd have tractors, chemical fertilizers, and high-tech seeds nga makaboost sa food productions. Instead of everyone starving, ang human naging more efficient para makapangita og paagi paano mag-produce og food. We learned how to produce more food with even fewer people working sa fields. Aside from food, Malthus also missed a major point about how people behave. Nag-assume siya nga if ang people daw mas kanamadato pa, mas maging daghan pagit ilang bata, like mag-ubra pagit sila daghang bata. Pero opposite ang naitabo. Kay as countries got more developed and medicine improved, ang birth rates ga start na siya to drop. And mao na siya ginatawag natong demographic transition. Today, instead of worrying about having too many people to feed, many countries are actually worried about underpopulation or having an aging society. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Andrian Eba. So, I will be discussing about demographic transition model. Ang demographic transition model, gasyon ni siya gasyon ni siya kung paano mag-growth ang isa ka population, kung paano siya nag-develop, kung paano nag-growth ang isa ka lugar. So, first, stage 1. Pre-industrial and early industrial. Stage 1, high birth rates, slow growth. So, slow lang ang pag-growth sa ilang population because wala pa sing technology and no family planning. Sang una, paggusto lang kung ano kadamo sa ilang bata. Sang una, kag wala pa mga medical service. Ang importante lang sang una nga mabuhi ka lang kag makakaon ka sa isa ka adlaw. Amo na ang importante lang sa ilang mabuhi. So ang ilang population slow lang ang pag-growth. Stage 2 naman, birth high, death falls, rapid growth. So ang sa stage 2 naman, gamat-amat na nag-growth ang ilang population because may ara na sing technology and also may medical service. May medical service na, may bakuna na, kag may sapat na silang nga pagkaon, kag amat-amat na silang gapanilo sa ilang palibot, kag may saktong tubig, kag amat-amat na nag-develop ang ilang population kay because may technology na ga amat-amat na sila develop. Late industry society. Sa stage 3 naman, death rate slow, birth rate begins, falling population growth, slow significance. Sa stage 3, naman, sang una, damo nga mga bata, ang isa ka pamilya gusto nila magbata sang damo 5 to 7 or pila man basta damo, pero subong nga panahon ara lang sang 2 or 3 ang iban gani nga gusto lang nila isa lang ilang bata because mas mahal na ang mga black loan subong kag mga pagkaon, education, healthcare, kag ang mga ilang mga bata kag mga bayi amo na po nga gaobra kag may mas accessible ng ang family planning. Sa stage 4 naman, post-industrial society. Stage 4, low birth and death rates, population stable of declining. So sa stage 4 naman, may ari na diri nagasugod ang family planning. May kasal na, ang ginaplanuhan gid antes nga magbata na. So stable lang ang population kay same na subong, stable ang population. That's all.
Now, let's look at the big picture of how the human population has changed. We can break this down into three major trends. First, the six-fold increase. Since the year 1800, the world population has exploded from just 1 billion to over 7 billion today. Projections suggest we could even reach 10 billion by year 2100s. Second, aging population trends. We are seeing a global shift where the population is aging rapidly. Because of better healthcare, there are more elderly people worldwide, while many regions are seeing fewer children being born. Third, changing demographics. This is driven by two main factors. The life expectancy has tripled, allowing people to live much longer lives, while the global fertility rate has dropped significantly from an average of 6 births per woman down to just two. These shifts create new challenges for governments, from managing healthcare for the elderly to adjusting to a changing workforce.
So my name is Just Joy P. Gonzaga, and I will be the one to discuss the concept of demographic transition. So this explains how population changes as a country develops economically. So this is very important nga maintindihan kung nga aga taas or slow down ang population sa isa ka lugar over time. It is divided into four stages. In stage 1 or pre-industrial society, parehong mataas ang birth rate at death rate, kaya mabagal lang ang population growth. For example, sa mga rural areas ang una, ang mga pamilya ay nagkakaroon ng maraming anak kasi kailangan sila sa farming. Someone nga makabulig sa ila sa pagtanom or pag-aani. Pero kahit maraming ipinapanganak, marami rin ang namamatay dahil sa sakit tulad ng infections, kakulangan sa pagkain at hindi pag-develop ang medical care. So, sa stage 2 naman or early industrial society, nananatiling mataas ang birth rate pero bumababa na ang death rate. Kaya mabilis ang paglaki ng population. For example, noong nagsimula ang industrialization sa ilang bansa, nagkakaroon ng mas maayos na sanitation, vaccines, at access sa pagkain kaya mas maraming tao ang nabubuhay. Pero mataas pa rin ang birth rate kasi nandyan pa rin yung mindset na kapag maraming anak, mas maraming tutulong sa pamilya, lalo na sa farming communities. One example dito ay ang ilang developing countries today kung saan mabilis ang population growth dahil bumababa na ang death rate pero hindi pa gaanong bumababa ang birth rate. So, makikita natin na habang nag-i-improve ang living conditions at technology, unti-unti namang nagbabago ang pattern ng population growth.
Good day, everyone. Today, I will be reporting about Stage 3 and Stage 4 of the demographic transition model. This model shows how population changes as countries develop. It helps us understand why some countries grow very fast while others grow slowly or even stop growing. In stage 3, the death rate is low and the birth rate start to fall, but the population is still growing quickly. So, why birth rate go down? First, families don't need many children anymore because medical care and food are better. Parents know their children will survive. Second, children are not needed for farm work since more people work in factories or offices. Third, parents want to give their children better education and care, so they choose smaller families. Or last, urban living also plays a role. In cities, raising many children are expensive, so families prefer fewer kids. And let's talk about why death rates stay low. First, hospital and doctor improve healthcare. Second, Clean water and sanitation prevent diseases. Third, technology and medicine like vaccine and antibiotic help people live longer. Third, people focus more on career, education, and quality of life than on having many children. Lastly, woman empowerment is important. When women study and work, they often choose smaller families or not having a children later. And let's talk about why date rates are low. First, advanced healthcare keep people healthy and prevent many diseases. Second, reliable food supply means fewer people die from hunger. Third, people live longer lives because of better living conditions. And lastly, healthy lifestyle and awareness about diet and exercise also help people live longer. To sum up, industrial countries went through big changes that lowered their population growth. Developing countries can follow the same path by improving healthcare, sanitation, education, and family planning. So, their population growth can also become stable. These show us that population changes is not about numbers, but about how society develops.
Hello everyone, my name is Chingis Gaurana and today let's talk about fertility transition theory. This theory suggests that birth rates in developing countries are dropping faster than ever before. It's not just because of a better economy, but the big shift is in culture. People changing their minds of having big families and are more willing to use birth control. It's all thanks to the mass media. Information about family planning is literally everywhere. However, it is not always easy. In some places, birth control is too expensive and it goes against religious beliefs. Also, when women don't have the right to an education or the power to choose or to make their own choices, fertility rates stay higher. It's a mix of personal choice and the barriers society puts in the way. Um, let's have an example. In some countries, watching soap operas with small happy families made women want the same thing. They changed the cultural attitude just by watching television. And in the opposite side, in some very religious communities, using birth control is seen as a sin. This is a roadblock that keeps birth rates high, even if the family is poor and want fewer kids. That would be all. Thank you.
My name is James Herman and I will be reporting about migration and sustainable development. First, let's talk about migration. Migration is the movement of people from one place to another or one country to another. Migration helps one country to develop and improve. It can create job, support an economy, and bring people together. Because of this, migration helps achieve Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs, which aims to make the world better by 2030. The first SDGs is no poverty. It aims to eliminate poverty around the world. The second is zero hunger. The third is good health and well-being. The fourth is quality education. The fifth is gender equality. Sixth is clean water and sanitation. Seventh is affordable and clean energy. Eighth is decent work and economic growth. The ninth SDGs is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Number 10 is reduce inequalities. Number 11 is sustainable cities and communities. Number 12 is responsible consumption and production. Number 13 is climate action. SDGs 14 is life below water. 15 is life on land. And SDG 16 is peace, justice, and strong institutions. And the last SDGs is partnership for the goals. These SDGs aims to make a better world through the help of migration or the movement of people moving from one place to another, bringing new culture, ideas, consumption of new knowledge, and helping develop one countries and sustain their communities or their cities. That's all for my report. Thank you.
So, hello everyone, my name is Jasmine Forswello. So, I will be the one who discussing this topic. So, this slide shows the two main types of migrants. First, level economic migrants. These are people who choose to move voluntarily. They usually migrate to find better job opportunities, earn higher income, or join family members living in another country. So their decision is based on improving their quality of life. So second is forced migrants. So these people do not choose to leave their homes. They are forced to migrate because of dangerous situation like war, conflict, or persecutions. Example include refugees and asylum seekers who move to stay safe. So in short is labor economic migrants choose for better opportunities. So forced migrants naman is wala sila choose for safety and survival ang ilahang choice. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So my topic is all about drivers of migration. So first, economic factors, job opportunities, poverty, wage differences, and food insecurity drive people to seek better economic condition abroad. So the economic factors is the people migrate because of better job opportunities and higher income. So it means kung walay trabaho or gamay ra ang sweldo sa ilahang lugar is, di ba, mangita jud sila og mas maayong opportunities sa laing lugar or sa country. For example, di ba, sa mga Filipino kalabanan, di ba, kung mo-abroad na lang sila para makakwarta sila and masuportaan ang ilahang family. So they want a better life and stable income. So second, environmental factors, climate change, natural disaster, drought, and rising sea levels force communities to relocate for survival. So the environmental factors migration can also be caused by natural disaster and climate change. So kung naibagyo, baha, or drought, maguba ang balay, di ba? So, o panginabuhi sa mga tao. So, because of this, is mapugos sila, mubalin sa mas safe nga lugar, and then the climate change also makes farming difficult. So, mo na siya ang mangita sila og laing lugar nga mas okay ang environment. So, the third is the human-made crisis, war, armed conflict, political corruption, and human rights violation compel people to flee their homeland. So, human-made crises, this include war, conflict, and political problems. So, kung naigubat o kagubot sa isa ka lugar and delikado kayo para sa mga tao, so biyaan nila ang ilang home country para is mangita sila og mas safety. Some people because some people also live because of unfair treatment or lack of freedom. So for me, the people migrate because they want better opportunity, safety, and a stable life. So sa simple pa is mobalhin sila para sa mas maayong kaugmaon is the migration is not always a choice. So usahay kinahanglan yun nila mobiya tungod sa kalisod sa ilahang lugar. So thank you.
Good day everyone. So let's proceed to the migration and development. We all know naman nga ang migration amo ang pagbalhin sang tao from one place to another. So usually tungod kay na better opportunities dito like dako ilang sweldo or mas nami ilang education or para sa ila safety. Then migration is important sa development kaya naka-apekto siya sa economy, culture, ug society in the whole world. So, for example, ang mga migrants mutabang sa workforce sa ilang gikatuan nga country, so makatabang sa pag-grow sa business kag economy. At the same time, nagapadala pud sila og kwarta or remittance para sa ilang pamilya nga makahelp sa local economy sa ilang home country. Generally, migration promotes diversity. People bring their traditions, languages, and ideas nga makapa-improve sa society. This can lead to innovation and a better understanding between different culture. Pero kinahanglan pud nga ma-manage og tarong ang migration. Governments need to work together og para makahimo og fair policies para maprotektahan ang rights sa mga migrants kag masiguro nga beneficial siya in both countries. As stated by International Organization for Migration, migration is not a problem to be solved but a human reality to be managed. This means migration is a normal part of human life and instead nga punggan, mas maayong i-manage siya properly. In conclusion, migration is key to achieving inclusive growth, strengthening resilience, and promoting global development when it is well managed.